Hi, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Roar Lions Roar. I'm your host, Filippo. Bill DeFilippo. Wow, as you can tell, I'm not firing on all cylinders. Just call
I
me
mean,
Andy
it's a good
Kotelnicki.
spoonerism, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a very good spoonerism. Not as good of a spoonerism is the name belonging to my co-host, Nick Pollock. Nick, what's going on?
I would like to just issue a blanket explicity warning right at the top here because I really don't know if I can control what I say when I'm talking about Andy Kotelnicki anymore. So just
Oh, God.
fair warning to all involved here.
Oh boy. Andy Kotelnicki and the Penn State offense didn't have a very good day on Saturday afternoon in Columbus, Ohio. Nor did Jim Knowles and Penn State's defense did not have a very good day. Just a lot of not very good days for the Penn State Nittany Lion football team lately. And Saturday was the first time I would say since the Oregon game, we expected Penn State to take their medicine, Nick. We expected them to beat UCLA. We expected them to beat Northwestern. We thought they could beat Iowa. Not 100% sure if they can, but, thought even going into Kinnick, even with a backup quarterback, that they were going to be able – they had a chance to win that game. I don't think anyone thought Penn State was going to win this game on Saturday. They ended up not winning this game on Saturday, losing 38-14. And yet that did not make it easier to sit there for 3+ hours and watch that football game.
No, it did not. And kudos to everybody who very smartly and correctly jumped on whatever live lines they could find at halftime, because I think I heard someone say it was 10, and that's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, they were just not. Obviously we'll get into way more detail, but yeah, just not a great day for Penn State overall. A couple guys did some nice things. I thought Ethan Grunkemeyer honestly played a pretty damn good football game overall, considering. Katron Allen, I thought overall was perfectly fine. Nothing outstanding, but he got his work in. Chaz Coleman, cool moment for him, recovering a fumble in his home state stadium there. So, there's there's some cool things, but overall, yeah, just a brutal day. Not fun to sit and watch. Even in the first half, like, there were moments that were interesting, but it never felt like, despite the halftime score of what was it, 17-14, it didn't feel like Penn State was actually like any real threat to Ohio State on the day.
Yeah, I mean, that game was an example of a few things. One, a 38-14 final score where you get outgained by 280 yards is just kind of what happens when a bad football team plays a good football team.
Mm-hmm.
And Penn State right now is just a bad football team. I mean, it's funny, Nick. You actually go through and look at some of the stuff that happened in this game, and give me a second. Let me just look at one thing. Penn State barely lost the middle eight. I mean, the middle eight, one of those things. You think of all the things that James Franklin would always talk about they wanted to do. Won the middle eight. Aaron didn't win the middle eight. It ended 14-7 Ohio State, but they were able to get up points in that area. Ohio State normally would have had a chance to double dip. They didn't do that because of the turnover battle. Even time of possession, even penalties, even third down. Penn State was actually pretty good on third down for what their season has been. They were 8 for 13 on third down. They did a lot of the stuff they want to do, but because they're just not a good football team right now, that didn't matter. They fought and they competed, and all of that is good. But right now, Penn State just does not have the guys to throw haymakers for 60 minutes with the best team in America. Like, you always hear people talk about, why doesn't Penn State upset Ohio State more often? Why doesn't Penn State upset Michigan? How come Team A can pull an upset, but Penn State can't? And the fact of the matter is, a big part of an upset is what the better team doesn't take the other team seriously for too long. Is what we saw in the UCLA game. At no point did I ever feel that Ohio State stopped taking Penn State seriously and was giving them a chance to get in the game. So they go into halftime 17-14, and then Ohio State just comes out. And like, there was a point where I think that Penn State had like 0 yards of total offense entering like the fourth quarter or something. Like it was just, it was an embarrassment. The second half was embarrassing. The first half, commendable, good job by those guys. I'm still a little bit pissed at Terry for punting on the very first drive of the game when it was 4-3 at Ohio State's 42.
Yeah.
They battled, they competed, and then the second half started, and now we're here.
Yeah. And the other thing that, the other thing you will see Ohio State do in these games they lose, particularly think about Michigan. You see Ryan Day kind of get into these modes where he's like, no, I need to win in this certain way. They didn't do that. In this game, they just knew exactly what functions with their offense, what exactly they need to do. They're willing to air out the football. So yeah, they just absolutely no let up at all from Ohio State. No taking Penn State lightly. They've seen too many not as talented Penn State teams take them to the wire in the past, so they were never going to do that. Yeah, they're just like you said, like it was the first half was okay. Like they did some things that were decent offensively, but this Ohio State team is just way too much. It is almost certainly the best team in the country. I don't know whether that leads to a national championship. I don't know. There's a lot of variables there, but this is a really impressive Ohio State team, and Penn State just never stood a chance here.
Yeah, one thing that I think is going to happen, after this weekend, because Penn State plays Indiana this week, and Ohio State and Indiana are the two best teams in the country right now. Very well might end up being the two best teams in the country. There is a chance they play 2 more times this season, with a championship being on the line both times in the Big Ten title game and the national championship game. I think we're going to see. It's not that I think Ryan Day like called off the dogs or anything like that. I think Ryan Day just likes to approach every single second of a football game with the exact same way, never try and get too far. Like, Ryan Day is not a coach who I think likes running the score up and like sending a statement that way. He'd rather be a boa constrictor. He'd rather just choke the life out of you for 60 minutes and have his guys who are able to just like just take care of business against you. And I think Indiana, Kurt Signetti is more like a cobra, where it's like strike, run it up. And I think a lot of people are going to do the thing where they look at this past game, they look at this next game, they're going to see Penn State 38-14 against Ohio State, and then some like crazy blowout by Indiana, and draw a lot of conclusions on that. I'd be really careful about doing that, because I think this game, even ending 38-14, even with Penn State scoring a pair of touchdowns, the first 2 offensive touchdowns Ohio State has allowed this year, I think we just watched Penn State play the best team in America and the team that's going to win the national championship. And it was, in a way, Nick, considering where Penn State is right now, looking for a head football coach, it was very jarring seeing something that we knew, how far Penn State is going to have to go whenever it gets insert new head football coach in here, how far they're going to have to go if they want to get to the level that an Ohio State or an Indiana, et cetera, is at.
Yeah, and we always knew that next year was going to be a big reset year anyway. You just roll down the list. You're losing your starting quarterback, your 2 starting running backs, your starting tight end, 4 out of your 5 offensive linemen at least. And that's just the offense, right? Like, go down the defense. It's not quite as severe, but it's very similar. So next year was always going to be a reset year anyway, and it was always going to take a Herculean effort to be at the top again next year anyway. But yeah, this shows that even like some of the depth guys that you think could have a role next year for Penn State, guys like Ethan Grunkemeyer, guys like Kobe Howard, maybe Chaz Coleman, guys on the defense, Amari Campbell, Antoine Belgrave Shorter, like some of those guys that will be possibly back. I mean, who knows with the new coach and who goes in the portal and whatnot. But there is a
Just
significant...
to interrupt you real quick, please, for the love of God, don't make me have to watch my team play Chaz Coleman in an Ohio State jersey. It would be in his senior year, unless it's in Indianapolis or the playoff. But like, I am scared of him, and he's on my team. I don't want to have to be afraid of him on another team. But yes, but sorry.
And even as I will take this as an opportunity to take a quick diversion here. How many players are you like, we cannot lose this guy, whether to the portal or whatever, going in, not counting the guys that are graduating or obviously off to the NFL. Like for me, that list is the only guy for me, like I'm like, you cannot lose this guy. Whatever NIL money you need to use to keep him, do it, is Chaz Coleman. And then I would like Tony Rojas and Amari Campbell to come back. That's kind of it.
I was going to say Tony's number one for me, just because like I think he's a mix of incredibly good, plays an important position. Him coming back, I would imagine, might mean Amari Campbell comes back. Yeah. And like, there's still a bit of projecting going on with Coleman, who I think is going to be a monster. Rojas, we just know, is a really, really good football player. So I would say him, but like it's like there and there.
Yeah. But the fact that we only just talked about 3 names right there kind of tells the whole story, right? Like this is a very depleted roster right now, not in terms of numbers. Like it's not like we're talking about a sanctioned team here, but the talent is just not there. And it in the alternate timeline where Penn State does beat Oregon, who knows if they are able to pull off any of these wins in the aftermath, because I mean, we've seen so many holes open up anyway. And even like, obviously if Drew Aller's playing, maybe it's different. If Tony Ross doesn't get hurt, maybe it's different, but this is just not the roster that we thought it was going to be this year. And I mean, I don't know how you could be anything than even more pessimistic about what future years are going to look like based on what we've seen from some of these guys going forward. Obviously, new coach, it's going to be a huge turnover anyway. The portal is going to be heavy for whoever comes in, I'm sure, depending on the timing. 2026 may just be somewhat of a rebuilding lost season anyway. Who knows? But yeah, it was a brutal reality to watch unfold on Saturday for sure.
Yeah, and I think it was very interesting because, like, in the big picture college football sense, because like, I think there are kind of 2 schools of thought with how you build your roster. And I think one of them is more like the James Franklin way of doing it. And one seems to be, and then one's the Ryan Day way of doing it. Obviously, they're operating with like 2 different budgets, and they're swimming in 2 different pools when it comes to like getting 5-star talent and all this. But like with James Franklin, he very clearly wanted to have a very strict, very structured, very regimented, very intentional and deliberate roster construction method that like you're not paying 10 guys like an insane amount of money who are coming in from the portal, who are, the top 10 recruits in America, that caliber of guy. And you are instead being a lot more pragmatic in like, okay, we have Zaki Wheatley, but then we have 3 guys who are in our developmental pipeline who are all good football players or could be good football players behind him, and we will bring them through organically. And then with Ohio State, again, they're operating with a different budget, which it sounds like sour grapes. It is not. I want everybody to spend money like Ohio State does. You have, okay, sure, Penn State has 6 or 7 guys in its cornerback room who are varying levels of like nice football players. Ohio State has 1 Jeremiah Smith, and that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good your 6 guy is when your 6 guys are, when your number 1 guy is that, and your number 1 guy is nowhere near his level. And nobody on Penn State's defense is near the level of Jeremiah Smith. In fairness, no one else is. Or a better example, Drew Shelton, a really good, really solid left tackle, been developed by Penn State, came up. Arvell Reese ate his lunch for 4 quarters, because when you have guys who are that caliber, they just take care of things that your solid, respectable, developmental depth guys. And again, it's a little bit different because I know Reese is a developmental guy at Ohio State and he's just turned into a monster. Penn State just lacks those guys who can run behind a cover 3 or a cover 4 and catch a touchdown like Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate do, or can make a good left tackle look foolish like Arvell Reese does, or do all the stuff that Caleb Downs is like.
It's funny as you described that, because I almost see, I don't see Ryan Day so much as this big departure from what James Franklin did, whereas like Dan Lanning is more of the other side of the coin.
Good example.
Ryan Day is essentially like, obviously he's what Pat Kraft would want Franklin to be, or want his next coach to be, because Ryan Day is a fantastic football coach. But like, if you look at that up and down that Ohio State program, like, it is mostly guys that they recruited and developed, and then they're willing to push the extra dollars into the pot to get those big names to add on to the top. So like, and Caleb Downs is obviously a little different because he was recruited heavily by Ohio State. When he went in the portal, he pretty much knew, I want to go to that school. But
like, also, if I may, at the exact same time, like, Caleb Downs could have just stayed at Alabama and been taken care of at Alabama. Or like Jeremiah Smith, like, they're putting in the work to make sure he stays at Ohio State instead of flipping to Miami when Miami comes calling, or all these sorts of things.
Yeah. Because all those Florida schools are coming hard at him every offseason. But yeah, like they're willing to make those guys like Caleb Downs and Max Clare and those just periphery pieces that they bring in to put the CJ Donaldson to put the finishing touches on things. They're willing to say, hey, yeah, you can make a little more money. Like, I don't care. Do you think Bo Jackson really cares all that much that CJ Donaldson is probably making a little more than him right now? Probably not. Like, it's like Ryan Day is basically what I think people thought James Franklin would be like in the portal, when in reality, he's, I mean, we've said it before, like, James Franklin basically operates not all that differently from like Dabo, honestly.
Yeah. And you look at their national title team, they get Will Howard, they get Keyshawn Judkins, they get Caleb Downs, they keep their very best guys, and Penn State is just not quite at that point. And we saw what that looked like on Saturday afternoon in a football game that we will continue to talk about here momentarily. But before we do that, Nick, I wore home field apparel out and about this weekend. What about you?
I was wearing my home field apparel white long sleeve dear old white and blue t-shirt from the kickoff box last year. Love that shirt.
I wore my Penn State Rose Bowl 1994 shirt, and I wore my blue bomber jacket over that. I wear a lot of home field apparel during the college football season, not during the college football season, but especially on Penn State game days, because there is no better place to go get gear if you are a Penn State fan than our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Yeah, they might not be as big as the Three Stripes, or they might not be as big as that one company that has the swoosh, but they do make your stuff that is going to be your favorite stuff that you have in your closet if you are a fan of a certain college. It could be Penn State. It could be Ohio. Maybe you're an Ohio State fan and you're just going around listening to every Penn State podcast. One, that's very mean of you. Two, I can't blame you. Three, buy something from Home Field Apparel, because I would recommend everyone buy something from Home Field Apparel, whether it's a t-shirt, whether it's a long sleeve shirt, whether it's a crew neck or a jacket or a pair of joggers or hats or whatever else it might be. I would recommend that you go to homefieldapparel.com. Sorry, my dog just had like a minor meltdown out of nowhere. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Check out everything that they have in their Penn State collection, their collection for any other school. Get yourself something. Get something for someone this upcoming holiday season. Whatever it might be, there's going to be something at Home Field Apparel. Again, go to homefieldapparel.com to check out everything that they have in their Penn State or any other collection. Thank you, as always, to Home Field Apparel for sponsoring the podcast. And Nick, now let's talk about Penn State's offense. You just start talking.
I don't know what Andy Kotelnicki. I don't know what he wants to do. I don't know what he thinks he's doing. I don't know if any of the players have any sense of what he wants. I don't understand what his game plan is. He goes away from things that are working. He tries things repeatedly that aren't working. There were at least 3 times in this game that they got a first down on some sort of nice completion from Grunkemeyer or some sort of nice run, and they immediately go to a trick play where Liam Clifford's taking a wildcat snap as a quarterback. What the fuck are we doing? Like, I don't understand what his plan is.
He calls games the way, or at least I get the sense that he calls games the way that I called games in Madden when I was 14 years old, where it was like, nothing happened on the last play, or there was nothing that anyone took from the last play or the one before that or the one before that or one in the fourth quarter. Every play is its own thing. And I thought that double pass where it like gets thrown out to Liam Clifford or Liam Clifford takes a screen or whatever it is. And then Devontae Ross is going down the field and he's in double coverage. I want to go make sure I am quoting him correctly. But Thomas Frank Carr over at BWI broke this play down, and he called the play 34-2 jet right, dumbass on 2. The thing with a play like that is you need to give Ohio State a reason to think something is going to happen if they to make life easier on your receiver, life easier on your receiver who is throwing the football there. It's amazing how much this offense, just nothing about, there is no we're going to do this so we can do this, so we could do this, so we could do this. It is just, boom, we just did that. We're good. Let's maybe file that away. Maybe we'll run that play again. But for the most part, yeah, whatever.
And when he's sitting in his office designing that specific play, does he think that all 11 Ohio State defenders are going to see Liam Clifford with the football and be like, oh my God, everybody leave your assignment. We got to go get him. There was one receiver running a route on that side of the field. And it was Ross. That was it. There was one person going downfield. What do you even if he is in single coverage, are you expecting Liam Clifford to deliver the ball that Devontae Ross, who's not a big guy, needs to have delivered to him to win in single coverage? I don't understand what he thinks is going to happen on these plays. And then to get away from that, how many bubble screen passes did we see in this game? There was a sequence where they did 3 straight screen passes to open a drive. What? I don't understand what he I don't understand what his goal is as an offensive coordinator. We heard Terry Smith talk in his press conference ahead of this game about how they needed to throw the ball downfield more. What did Terry Smith say again in his press conference after this game? We will throw the ball downfield. What is not connecting? What did Ethan Grunkemeyer do to show Andy Kotelnicki that he can't throw the football down the field? Yeah, he missed a couple balls, but this is his second game starting? He's not going to be perfect. How many passes downfield did Drew Aller miss? Why are you not trusting your high 4-star kid to throw the damn football down the field? You are not going to beat Ohio State by throwing a screen pass to Devontae Ross with one blocker in front of him with 3 defenders coming on. I've never hated a coach like this. I cannot stand watching them play offense with these calls. I can't.
Yeah. The thing is, you're not going to get much against Ohio State's defense.
Sure.
It's Ohio State's defense. Again, it's the best defense in the country, all that. You at least need to make life as easy as possible on your quarterback and play to his skills. And I think we're in 2 straight games now of Ethan Grunkemeyer when he's in situations where it is, all right, I'm just going to drop back, 1, 2, 3, boom, get the ball out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go through my progressions, boom, get the ball out. Like you mentioned, Nick, he's going to miss a few every now and then. He looks comfortable doing that. Mm-hmm. He doesn't look it's not you're putting a walk-on back there who has never taken a snap in a game, never gotten live reps, doesn't have much arm talent. He looks like a solid football player when he's in a situation where it's all right, snap, drop back, have a pocket, look over there, look over there, look over there, going to come back here, boom, get the football out. He looks fine in those situations. It's when you're doing stuff like spamming screens or deciding Liam Clifford is going to throw the ball for some reason, or we have success on the very first play of the game where we have our 5 offensive linemen and then 2 extra offensive linemen over here, kind of a jumbo package, pitch Katron Allen 26 yards. Great. Run that play again from out of that formation with Nick Singleton a little bit later in the game for a touchdown. Great. Landon Tengwall pointed this out. They did not return to that in the second half at all.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do something that worked. Like, objectively, it was a thing that worked for you that Ohio State had some trouble with. And maybe Ohio State then comes back and was like, okay, they're going that formation. They've been beating us with that. Bring an extra man over. We're going to hyper-focus on that. And that's when you do all the like, whimsy and tricky stuff. And, you're thinking over there, I'm going to actually do something over there. That is like the bedrock of Andy Kotelnicki's offense. Like, I don't know.
He's playing NFL head coach 2009.
Yeah,
that's what he's
game.
doing. That's what he's doing. Fantastic game. That's what he's doing. He's like, nothing is. Katron Allen had 2 carries in the second half. Like, I know you're behind, but you're not gonna win the football game. Your goal should be to continue to try to develop your offense, and you're gonna run the ball twice with Katron Allen. Like, what are we doing? I don't understand what he's doing. I don't get it. There's nothing consistent, or the only thing that's consistent is that we know he's going to call one of the same 5 plays that he always calls. Which, on that note, why are we not seeing Kobe Howard and Tysier Denmark in the game? I fully get no, I don't get that they might not have a grasp on the playbook, because that's ridiculous at this point.
Terry Smith had a quote about this today. Let me see if I can go find it. This is good podcasting.
It was something like,
he said Kobe's going to be on the field on Saturday. He's going to play more on Saturday. There were some quotes in there about, like, they don't really know the playbook. They're still trying to get the playbook down. Got to get them up to speed, give them more meeting time. Kobe Howard competes. There's 50 different personnel groups, and there's certain guys you want for certain plays, so you can't just play like all this stuff. And despite that, like, Kobe Howard looks comfortable in a way that I haven't seen from, say, a guy like Kyron Hudson. And here's the thing: if Kobe Howard messes up, that's okay. Everyone will be okay with that, I promise you. If other guys mess up, that's not going to be okay, and people won't care about that. Like, I don't get it.
And like, Kobe Howard and Tysier Denmark have had this playbook for longer than any of the 3 starting receivers. Like, I get that they're vets, and there's probably not, like, the concepts are the same. It's just putting the puzzle pieces in different ways. I get that, but like, I'm at such a loss for words at this point. Like, what are we trying to protect by not letting Kobe Howard try? All he's done when he's been in the game is, and I feel like there's this perception in the Penn State community at large right now that we're like keeping Randy Moss on the bench or something. Like, Kobe Howard is somebody that just seems like he can play football. Like, I don't think anyone's expecting him to be a superstar or anything. It's just like, he seems like he can catch the ball and run some routes. Maybe let's try to let him do that. We've heard things about how he's very strong in the open field. Are you going to try to exploit that at any point, Andy? Like, one time, maybe, just to try it? I don't. I sound like a fool and I'm stuttering. I can't. I have no words for this.
I will say that beyond the play calling, the receivers are going to struggle in a game like this. It happens. Yeah. The offensive line had a rough day. I'm really stunned by what we've seen out of what we saw out of Drew Shelton. Like, legitimately, is a guy who I thought could play on Sunday. He went up against a guy who was going to be playing on Sunday and really struggled there. Interior of the offensive line, I think, struggled with how physical and mean and nasty Ohio State's defensive front is. I will say, I think days like this, days like what they had against Iowa last week, etc., or 2 weeks ago rather, are going to help them in a few weeks. I think they're going to get demolished by Indiana. But at Michigan State, Nebraska, at Rutgers, I think having the games they've had these last couple of weeks are going to be really helpful for them when they get on the field against defenses that aren't nearly as impossible to move the football on. But a lot of that is going to come down to, I think they need to trust their quarterback more. I think they need to put a little more fit. And we saw it against Ohio State. There was definitely an element of, we don't want to ask Grunk to do too terribly much because this is his second start. It's going up against a national championship caliber defense, all this stuff. Grunk threw more passes than Julian Sayin did. Of course, a big reason for that is Julian Sayin just threw the ball past Penn State's defense with some frequency. He also had, and this was a stat that I read for you before the game, Nick, QBR is a very flawed stat, don't get me wrong. His QBR of 82.3 was a higher QBR than all but one game that a Penn State quarterback played this year, and it was Drew Aller's game against UCLA. Like, there is a good football player in here. There is a running game, whether it is Katron Allen, doing a little bit more stuff in the open field and, busting out some longer runs, etc., or Nick Singleton being like the battering ram, run straight ahead, lower your head type. There's stuff to work with in this offense. And all I hope is that after going through all the nonsense that last game, this game, and the next game are going to present to them, there starts to be a little bit more faith and comfort and confidence in, we can actually do stuff on the offensive side of the football, as long as, and this is something that Terry Smith spoke about again today, a lot of time throwing the football horizontally, throw it vertically more. You make a couple of mistakes, to quote the great philosopher Shania Twain, I'd rather die standing than live on my knees. And right now, Penn State is doing that second one. And somehow that is the first time we have ever had a Shania Twain reference on the podcast.
It's pretty shocking when you think about it. Are you of the opinion that, because I've been trying to justify I don't think Terry Smith probably doesn't have the authority necessarily to fire Andy Kotelnicki. If you wanted to, that'd probably be a Pat Kraft decision at this point. Do you think it's just because nobody else wants to even touch that playbook?
No. I mean, I think that it's funny because I think this season has been so upside down that we forget last year Andy Kotelnicki was like his feel for things was fantastic. Like that, it's the inexplicable thing about this season. Like, I refuse to just accept that not having Tyler Warren made Penn State's offense go from everything is cooking constantly all the time to we are in a situation where we just got to have Liam Clifford throw the football. Like, there is and was a functional offense mere months ago, and I don't know what is wrong with it.
And that was with Katron Allen being hurt / ineffective for 75% of the season.
Yeah. Like, so I don't know. Like, I truly think Andy Kotelnicki at some point, and again, maybe it is truly just that he is trying to be ultra protective of his young quarterback. There is a good offensive coordinator in there somewhere. I just don't know where he's went.
I think I agree, but I also think that maybe Tyler Warren and Jalen Daniels are just the greatest football players to ever grace college football. Maybe that's Maybe Andy Kotelnicki just owes everything to them.
Mm-hmm. Sure. It's very possible. Yeah, just a rough day for Penn State's offense. It's a rough couple of days for Penn State's offense. Got a tough week on the horizon. But I think, maybe this is just blind faith and blind optimism. I think there is a chance that they end the season on a higher note than we've seen. I don't know if I can say the same about Penn State's defense, which allowed 480 yards total offense to Ohio State, 5.1 yards per carry. The numbers in the passing defense were just absolutely abominable. My general stance, Nick, is that on the offensive side of the football, I think Andy Kotelnicki just hasn't had a very good year. And on the defensive side of the football, I just don't know if the players have had an especially good year, especially since Tony Rojas went down. And this is the low point for them. Just a really rough day for Jim Knowles and his group.
Yeah, it's become clear that the defensive personnel is just not there for Penn State this year. Denai Dennis Sutton has been really disappointing, both in terms of production and just overall effort at times. Zane Durant, I still think, is a really good football player, but is not the type of defensive tackle that's going to be able to control the game on his own. He needs that big space-eating body next to him, he needs his, for lack of a better term, he needs his Parker Cawthorn next to him. He needs his Austin Johnson next to him.
Yep.
Yeah. He's a little bit smaller. He's shiftier. That's how he beats guys. So you need someone to eat up space next to him. And Alonzo Ford has not just hasn't been that guy. We've talked about the linebackers plenty. Zachy Wheatley continues to play fantastic football overall. But the secondary is just not there this year. AJ Harris, really disappointing year. Davian Collins, has shown flashes here and there. He's probably a guy I would like to keep around for next year. I believe he still has one more year. Elliott Washington has been okay. No secondary is going to have a good day against Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. Arguably, you could make a pretty easy argument that they are the best two receivers in America. Carnell Tate's just been criminally underrated for his entire Ohio State career. Finally starting to get some of the love that he deserves. I know we've heard the quote saying that Knowles' system is seems to be a bit too complicated right now for everyone. And I think that we expected, I don't know that we expected him to come in and immediately just have what he had at Ohio State or Oklahoma State. In all his other stops, it's taken a year or so to break it in and really get it going. But whether the ultimate culprit is just a terrible mismatch between scheme and players available, or it's just the players are not standing up to where we thought they would, it's just not working. I am of the opinion, I still think that unless the new head coach is a more defensive-minded guy and has his own system in mind, his own defensive coordinator in mind, aside from that, I still think it would probably be a good idea to keep Jim Knowles around for another year at least and see how it goes. But, man, it's becoming harder to defend that position. And, again, Ohio State's incredible offense. Hard to blame them too much, but they just could not stop anything.
Yeah, I thought the defensive line against the run, I thought the defensive line was okay.
Yeah, they were.
I didn't think that they were awful in the run game. I would say the front seven or the front, probably six technically. Basically the defensive line and then Amari Campbell and Dom DeLuca. I thought they battled. I thought they did their best against Ohio State's offensive line and collection of running backs.
Honestly, two back-to-back pretty solid weeks for them in terms of controlling the opposing run game.
Yeah, and pulling one guy out of this is obviously silly, but James Peoples, 4 carries, 19 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. CJ Donaldson, 7 carries, 17 yards, 2.4 yards per carry. Another running back, they got it in a little bit later in the game, was Isaiah West, 4 carries, 13 yards, 3.3 yards per carry. That's all fine. Like, those are pretty decent numbers. And now I'm going to do something I should never do, which is some quick maths. But yeah, you take out that 51-yard carry. You know, you never want to put that asterisk on it, that Bo Jackson had. He was down at 4.5 yards per carry. I thought Penn State held up pretty well against the run for Ohio State, which is not something that I thought was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But they just did not generate nearly enough pressure against Julian Sayin. No sacks in the day. Did speed him up a little bit, but nowhere near enough. And as a result, he was able to just pick Penn State apart. Penn State's secondary, other than Zaki Wheatley, I thought had just a miserable football game. And as a result, that's how you get to a point where Julian Sayin, 20 for 23, 316 yards, 4 touchdowns. Carnell Tate, 5 receptions, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Jeremiah Smith, 6 receptions, 123 yards, 2 scores. Like, those are 3 guys, 3 freaks of nature that Penn State just did not have anything for. And, you know, I don't put that, you know, like, it's one of the things, I don't like blame that on anyone, Nick. I don't blame Jim Knowles for the fact that Zion Tracy against Jeremiah Smith. Zion's a good football player. He's not someone who could slow down Jeremiah Smith, because barely anyone is. Or, you know, Davian Collins, a good football player, against Carnell Tate, a guy nobody can really slow down, is going to be a win for Carnell Tate. Or, you know, Zane Durant's trying his best. He can't break through and get to Julian Sayin. Denai Dennis Sutton can't break through and get to Julian Sayin, and he could just stand back there all day and pick them apart. Like, it's one of those things where I would get why anyone is like mad about this. This is just one of those situations where, like, Penn State doesn't have the guys who could go blow for blow with Ohio State. And even as much as I love Tony Rojas is not a guy who's going to fix something like this.
No, he's not. To the point you made earlier about the lack of pressure, I've just kind of been scrolling through past seasons. The last time Penn State has 14 sacks on the year. The last time they were under 40 sacks for a season was 2021, when they went 7-6. They had 27 sacks on the year. Even in 2020, they had 25.5 sacks as a team in 9 games. The lack of pressure has just been debilitating for this defense. The fact that they cannot get in the backfield, and I don't know what necessarily to blame that on, so to speak. I don't know if that's just they expected Denai Dennis Sutton to be in the backfield more, and he hasn't been, or if they were just really banking on Max Granville having a huge role in this defense this year as in terms of being a sack artist, and he's obviously out for the year. But it is the thing that is hurting this team the most, because it's forcing that secondary to play so much more coverage and stay on guys so much longer. And against a team like Ohio State, that's just going to kill you.
Penn State has not had a sack since the 4th quarter of the Northwestern game, which was when James Franklin was still the coach. And on October 11th, it is currently November 3rd. Obviously, they had their bye in there. Indiana's not exactly an offense. I think one of their best offensive linemen is going to be out. Fernando Mendoza has been sacked 7 times in 9 games this year. There is a decent chance that Penn State does not record a sack until the Michigan State game on 11/15. Like, that is shocking for a team that has prided itself for years and years under James Franklin on its ability to get to the quarterback. And like you said, it means the guys in the secondary are going to have to cover for a little while longer. And a lot of people, you know, a lot of Penn State fans, again, rightfully, I think, or unjustifiably got mad, going like, how is Jeremiah Smith, how is Carnell Tate running past the secondary? And yeah, Penn State secondary does need to play better. It's a chain reaction that comes back to the fact that they just cannot consistently get pressure enough. And against a team like Ohio State, that is going to be the death of you. I don't really want to talk too terribly much more about this game, Nick. So let's hand out game balls. One guy on offense, one guy on defense. Who do you want to? And then if there's any assorted people you would like to celebrate, by all means, go for it.
On offense, I'm going to give it to Ethan Grunkemeyer. I mean, he showed some serious stones in this game. Obviously, beyond just the magnitude of the matchup from a college football sense, playing in, he's an Ohio kid, playing in Ohio Stadium. I'm sure he grew up going to Ohio State games. Like, to put on a performance the way he did with the lack of support that he has around him, in that, with all that extra external pressure added onto him, was impressive. Like, when he had the chance to throw the football, like we said, he missed a couple, but he looked good throwing the football downfield, and he should be given the opportunity to continue doing that. And then also, I'll just add off topic, but we've been talking all year about how Andy Kotelnicki really needs he really just wants a running presence. Why aren't you letting Grunkemeyer run the football a little bit then? Like, he's a better runner than Drew Aller. He's a little, well, depending on how you define better, he's shiftier, he's faster. Let him do that. Let the kid play. Like, for me, yeah, it's Ethan Grunkemeyer on offense. Who you got?
I will also give it to Grunk. Special shout out to Katron Allen as always. Didn't have his most effective game. I also don't think Penn State was going to ever really get too terribly much going in the running game. But 21 carries, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. Let me look at something really quickly that I think I had in here. Going in the last 2 games against Ohio State, Penn State running backs, I mentioned this on the previous pod, 36 carries, 116 yards, 3.2 yards per carry. So Katron Allen outperformed Katron Allen and Nick Singleton over the last 2 years. So that is nice. Defensive side of the football, who are you going with?
It's a great question. I mean, Chaz Coleman having the wherewithal to pick up the fumble, maybe worth a game ball. Zachy Wheatley, I guess I would go Wheatley just because he's continued to do everything that he possibly can to support his teammates on the back end and try to drag them into respectability. He's not able to do that by himself, obviously, but the fact that he has continued to play so hard and the fact that he has continued to show fight for 60 minutes is really commendable and is the kind of thing that's only gonna aid in his draft reports. Teams are gonna see that. Teams are gonna be really happy about that, and it's gonna make him a lot more attractive of a prospect. So I'll give it to Wheatley.
Yeah, I wasn't able to pull it up in time, but John Sauber of the Center Daily Times and the Nittany Dispatch podcast did a piece about just his gamer for the Center Daily Times, and Wheatley had some quotes in there, and he's just like a guy who gets it, and that's a guy you want on your football team. And through how rough this season has been, he's been a bright spot. So as always, a lot of credit needs to go to him. I will go with Chaz Coleman for the simple reason that after the game happened, everyone was immediately terrified that Ohio State is going to poach him in the portal. And I think if you play a football game like that, you deserve to get credit for your performance. Like that one, there was that one moment he was lined up over Ohio State center and just put him in the mixer and got into the backfield. So that was really impressive. If Penn State is going to record a sack against all odds against Indiana, it might be I would bet on Chaz Coleman being the guy getting it, in large part because that would just be really cool. So I will go with that. Nick, any other final things you want to mention before I wrap the podcast up and send people into their week?
I'll toss the miscellaneous game ball to Gabe Wosu. Nearly 50 yards average on his punting in this game. This season could be even uglier if Penn State didn't have a good kickoff specialist and good punter, and Gabe Wosu's been really impressive in that regard. Somebody they'll miss him next year for sure. That's going to be a big hole for them to fill. So nice season for him.
At this point, with Gabe being listed at 6'6", 292, I wonder if you should get some reps at left tackle.
Although, I feel like I remember seeing that he legitimately just kicked in high school even. I'll have to try to find it. Like, I don't think he's ever been anything other than a kicker.
I fascinated in Gabe Nwosu. Just like how you could be that big, and at no point in your life did anyone ever try to convince you to play on the offensive line. So kudos to Big Gabe. Yeah, I think that is it for this week's edition of the pod. Thank you as always to everyone for listening. Make sure you go and subscribe wherever you go and get your podcast. If it's a platform that gives you the opportunity to leave a review, please go and give us a 5-star review. Make sure you're following us on social media, Twitter, Blue Sky, wherever else, cracking jokes and having existential crises on both of those platforms. And again, thank you to Home Field Apparel. Head to homefieldapparel.com to check out everything they have in their collection for the Penn State fan in your life. One last time, thank you everyone for listening. For Nick Pollock, I'm Bill DeFilippo. Take care, everyone.
Go State, I guess.